Beside a half-empty glass of amber liquid, the middle-aged human sat perfectly motionless. For 40 minutes, High Exarch Malachur had monitored the stranger's isolation from the elevated command terrace of the Zenith Junction. Around this fragile figure raged the hegemony's greatest martial festival, a deafening riot of silver banners and clashing steel. Yet the man simply inhaled for 4 seconds, held it, and exhaled. He looked less like a living spectator and more like a ghost tethered to a stool. The raw celebrations of 300 victorious campaigns, Empress Scylla Kalen demanded. Down on the crowded promenade, she swept through the masses, her 4 silver-hued arms gesturing widely to clear a path. She was hunting for a demonstration, a public spectacle, a statement to reinforce the natural order. Her lower 2 wrists tapped together in the traditional Kalic rhythm of challenge, a sharp clicking sound that usually scattered civilian crowds like frightened herbivores fleeing a fire. The human did not scatter. He didn't even blink. You'll want to hear how the hegemony's greatest warrior was humbled by a man who refused to make a fist. Trust me on that. Beneath the heavy command terrace, the deafening roar of the festival abruptly died, swallowed by the sharp scrape of Scylla's heavy armored boots stopping before the human's table. Malachur gripped the cold iron railing. From his high vantage point, the High Exarch could see the exact angle of the human's neck. Averted gaze, drooped, rounded shoulders. A submissive posture Malachur's tactical databanks instantly flagged as a hardwired biological prey response. The creature was already defeated. You do not cheer the accord, human, Scylla projected, her voice deliberately engineered to echo off the promenade's sweeping vaulted ceilings. Slowly, the man turned his head, shifting his weight with the weary caution of the elderly. I'm just drinking my tea. Through the retinal feeds of his elite guard, Malachur watched the Empress sneer at the quiet response. She reached to her ceremonial belt and casually tossed an ironwood training rod onto the sticky metal table. It clattered against his glass. A child's practice tool, a dull stick smoothed by generations of unformed hands. Offering it to a grown adult was the ultimate Kalic insult, a declaration that the opponent required a handicap just to bleed with honor. Stand, Scylla commanded. Show this sector what courage your fragile species possesses when faced with a true predator. I challenge you to the arena. 3 minutes. Survive, and I will concede your people have merit. A heavy, ragged sigh escaped the human's cracked lips. Malachur cataloged the sound. Utter, paralyzing defeat. The man rubbed his temples with a trembling hand, deliberately ignoring the ceremonial wood resting by his knuckles. The sheer gravity of a hegemony royal challenge was crushing him into the floor plating. I have a bad knee, Elias said quietly. Derisive laughter rippled through the Kalic vanguard. An excuse so pathetic it offended their sacred warrior code. They heard only cowardice. But up on the terrace, Malachur's secondary ocular implants caught a chilling discrepancy in the biometric scan. The human's heart rate hadn't elevated. It hadn't spiked in panic. It remained locked at a steady, rhythmic crawl of 48 beats per minute. A biological impossibility for a terrified prey animal facing an apex killer. Bring him down to the sand, Scylla ordered, ignoring the quiet plea. Within minutes, the 20,000-seat arena was locked down. Down on the illuminated floor, Scylla drew her ceremonial blades, her 4 arms weaving a mesmerizing, deadly pattern. High above on the command terrace, Malachur wasn't watching the weapons. He was staring at the datapad in his lower left hand, waiting for the facial recognition scan to process the human's biometric anomaly. The progress bar crawled. Down in the pit, Elias Thorne slowly picked up the discarded wooden rod. He rolled his stiff shoulders, let out another heavy breath, and casually brushed a speck of lint off his plain civilian jacket sleeve. Flashed the 4 silver blades as Scylla launched her opening assault. She expected him to cower. Instead, the human shifted his center of gravity by a fraction of an inch, and the temperature in the massive arena suddenly felt like it had dropped to absolute zero. He didn't block. He simply wasn't where the blades landed. On the terrace, the datapad chimed. Malachur looked down. File, the Ghost of Aegis. Classification, Omega. The High Exarchus' four hands began to tremble violently against the iron railing. Seized him was a visceral memory, his own ruthless mentor, a legendary general, weeping in pure terror in a dark tent decades ago while describing the phantom who dismantled the Titan base. "Stop the match," Malachor whispered, his voice cracking. But the broadcast was already unfolding. The true danger of the human species lay not in their strength, but in their biomechanical efficiency. Elias wielded the blunt wooden rod to bypass the Galactic armored plating entirely, targeting the unprotected interstitial nerve clusters. A micrometric, kinetic flow tap to Scylla's brachial plexus instantly paralyzed her upper left arm. A sweeping, precision glide across the femoral artery gap collapsed her right leg. In 14 seconds, he systematically deactivated her body's infrastructure. Scylla crashed to the sand, completely immobilized, her blade scattered. From the dirt, she stared up, waiting for the apex predator's killing blow. Looking down at her, Elias's eyes held no triumph, no bloodlust, and no pride. That early silence, the Galactic Empress finally recontextualized. It had never been the biological submission of a prey animal. It was the bone-deep exhaustion of a veteran who knew exactly how much damage he was about to inflict and genuinely wished to avoid it. An hour later, the arena was completely empty. Inside the Zenith Junction's VIP observation deck, Scylla sat silently before a secure terminal, drafting a formal hegemony command to seek a permanent, unconditional alliance with the human territories. 3 centuries of martial supremacy, undone by an old man. Far below, a civilian transport broke atmosphere, carrying the stranger away. Resting against the observation deck's pristine glass window remained the ironwood training rod. A single, fresh indentation marked its smooth tip. The polished wood caught the stark glare of the passing starlight. The hegemony elite guard stood 10 paces back from it. None of them stepped forward to retrieve the stick.